What is up, all of you awesome and amazing people on YouTube? The Old Coot here, coming at you with another exciting frozen treat, dessert, whatever you want to call it, ice cream, gelato. You make up your own mind. Basically what it is it's delicious. That's all you need to know. And it tastes great, and it's very low on the glycemic index scale. Keto lovers might love this. Diabetics, talk to your doctor, check the ingredients and all that good stuff. I'll show you the labels in a second. But basically, I have spent the last few decades, literally decades, trying to find something that was frozen, like gelato or ice cream that didn't have added sugar, that tastes amazing. And thank goodness through technology and all of these great products that you're seeing today, I believe I've come there. I've come to that point where we finally have accomplished something. Okay, total prep time, right? So from the time you start making it, the freezing process to the time you're eating it, usually about 6 to 8 hours. And all you need to make this is either a smoothie maker or some kind of blender. You could also use one of those handheld mixers. You could use a whisk, but 1953 called and they want their whisk back. I think technology has advanced since then. So if you have power tools, why not use them, right? Okay, first ingredient, our main ingredient, star of the show, is the organic whole milk. You could use whatever milk you want. You want to use skim, 2%, 1%, whatever. You could try to get away with using soy milk or using almond milk. You're going to have to do your own experimenting of the stabilizers and the, all that good stuff. But anyways, let's just keep it simple and use milk for this recipe. Okay, next star of the show. This is for the chocolate flavor. So I'm going to be making two flavors today, a pure vanilla and then a chocolate flavor. So I'm trying to keep something that is in line with improving your body's performance. And that's exactly what this is. Flavamix. It's designed, let me show you the back right here. So you can take a look at this, and I'll hold steady so you can get a screenshot. Basically what this is designed to do is improve your cardiovascular, your brain health, right? It helps to maintain healthy blood sugars because there's no added sugar in here. It's pretty simple. The ingredient label is pretty simple, right? Pretty easy to understand. There's everything that's in there if you want to get your screenshots. And this already has some vanilla in it anyway, so I probably won't add the Vanilla Bean King's vanilla to this version. Let's move on to the vanilla version. So this is Vanilla Bean King's vanilla extract. This stuff is potent and powerful stuff. If you've used vanilla paste or, vanilla flavoring or whatever you want to call it, this is pretty potent. The smell is heavenly. It's like wrapping yourself up in a warm blanket on a cozy, January morning or evening next to the fire. The smell is insanely vanilla, and it's just a great, great product. Thank you, Courtney, over there at Vanilla Bean Kings, for sending this to me. I really appreciate you. Okay, allulose, right, which is going to be our sweetener, and also it helps to keep your milk from freezing into a solid block of ice. So allulose does two things in the recipe. Hoosier Hill Farms, thank you for sending this to me. Hoosier Hill Farms sent me this allulose. Basically what allulose is it does not spike your glycemic index, right? And it acts like a sweetener, and also basically it lowers the freezing point of the milk so that it doesn't freeze like a solid block of ice. Okay, Agar Agar, also Hoosier Hill Farms, thank you for sending this to me. What Agar Agar is it's basically like a gelatin. It's like a gelatin, but not. What it does is when you mix this in with your ice cream, frozen dessert treat, whatever you want to call it, gelato, basically what Agar Agar does is it helps to maintain that smooth consistency, that velvetyness that you feel on your tongue, that comforting feeling of smooth ice cream. That's basically what this does. So in the way that the allulose prevents like huge ice crystals from forming, the Agar Agar gives you that velvety smoothness on your tongue. So let's get into the ingredients because I don't want this video to get too long, but we're going to make the vanilla one first. So the way I do this is I get my containers that I'm going to freeze my frozen dessert treat in, right? And basically as long as I stay within about, I'd say about, let's say 4/5 of the way from the top, I'm okay. Because throwing everything into the blender or smoothie maker or whatever is going to generate some air. And that air also helps to give you that smoother, easily scoopable kind of texture when you go scoop your ice cream out or gelato or whatever you want to call this when you're done. So let's start with the vanilla one first. I'll move this one out of the way. Recipe's pretty simple. It's going to be basically a cup of milk, about a tablespoon of the cocoa powder for the chocolate version. It's going to be only about a quarter teaspoon of this vanilla bean, right, paste in the vanilla version. And then we're going to use a tablespoon of allulose in both recipes. And we're going to be using about a half teaspoon of the Agar Agar in both recipes. So let's go ahead and start. So we're going to start with the milk first, right? Basically, I'm just opening this up and I'm going to be pouring out, I'd say about a cup's worth, right? So about 4/5 of, that's a full cup right there. Just so you can all see, here's my container from Trader Joe's, but you can use whatever, you know, container, leftover containers you have. Cream cheese containers, cottage cheese containers, sour cream containers, whatever, you know what these containers are, right? And that's the ones that you want to use. So basically you get the idea. Okay, so remember to make the vanilla version, I'm just going to use about a quarter teaspoon of this because it's pretty potent and powerful. And I just want to have that awesome vanilla flavor. So I'm going to use my handy dandy measuring spoon, right? Quarter teaspoon. I'm just going to reach in there, and that's all. That's literally all you need right here. If you can gander. So just a quarter teaspoon. That's going to go in. You're going to mix this in there, right? Use every last little drop that we can possibly use. Put the lid back on this. Okay, and then I'm going to have a full tablespoon of the allulose. So again, if you want to replicate this in the future or you want to make more of it, remember 1 cup of milk, 1 tablespoon of allulose, and then just keep increasing the volumes as you go. So if you're going to make 3 cups of milk, 3 tablespoons of allulose. It's that simple. And Hoosier Hill Farms, what a great company. That's what your allulose looks like, right? Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So that goes in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a quarter of a teaspoon, which is this, right? Quarter of a teaspoon, or sorry, yep, sorry, half a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon of the Agar Agar, which again is our gelatin-like substance, which is going to give us a nice, smooth, velvety texture to the ice cream. So there's my half a teaspoon of Agar Agar. That's going to go in there. Okay, and then now here's where the magic happens. So I'm just going to open up my blender. Pretty simple. This whole thing, right? I know that after I blend this, all of this is going to fit back into the same container. That's how you know it's foolproof. But basically all of this goes into my blender. Make sure it all goes in there. Right? You may want to use a spoon or whatever. You could also measure, you know, everything into this container, into your blender container if you wanted to. But pretty simple to use now. This goes on. Screw it on the lid. And then here's where it gets really loud and noisy. I'm just going to throw this in, and we're just going to blend it for about like 30, 40 seconds maybe. Maybe about like 30 seconds. Okay, so as you can see, we have volumized, right? And all that air is what's going to help to make this ice cream as smooth as it can be when you go ahead and scoop it out. So what I'm going to do is just open the lid. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And I'm just going to pour this into my container. And as you can see, we just made it, right? The beauty of using the blender, you don't have to use an ice cream machine or anything. Pretty simple. All that's going to happen now is I'm going to put my lid on. This goes into the freezer for about anywhere between 4 to 6 hours. You don't need to fuss with it. Just throw it in there and leave it. I know there's recipes that I've seen online where you have to keep shaking it every half an hour, blah, blah, blah. None of that. You have enough stuff in here that will help to make this ice cream as smooth as possible. So this is going to go in the freezer for about 4 to 6 hours, give or take. When it's done, it's done. Okay, second version now. We're going to make the chocolate version. I'm going to use the same container only because there's some residual vanilla in there that I just want to hang on to. And I want to try to savor as much of this Vanilla Bean King's vanilla as possible. But we're not going to add any more. We're just going to hang on to what we got. Okay, so same thing with the milk. So I'm going to pour in my milk again, right? And I'm going to use, give or take, about a cup of milk, which is about, I'd say, what is that, 5/6 of the way from the top, right? So there you go. So I know that when I mix it up and I pour it back in here, I'm going to basically fill up the container. We're just going to get a little air in there. Okay, 1 tablespoon of our Flavamix cocoa powder, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get my big tablespoon out. There we go. And there's your 1 tablespoon. Believe me, this is potent stuff. Don't need a whole heck of a lot or too much of it. So that's going to go into the mix. And then again, 1 tablespoon of the allulose. This is where paper napkins are your friend, right? So go ahead and clean off your spoon. I might as well clean off this vanilla over here that was here too. Clean some of that off. Okay, so 1 tablespoon of the allulose, right? Remember, allulose is our sweetener, but it's also helping to lower the freezing point of the ice cream frozen treat so that it doesn't turn into a solid block of ice. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of the Hoosier Hill Farms Agar Agar, right? So here's my 1/2 teaspoon. As you can see, there's measuring and all that good stuff. No need for heaping, just enough. There you go. That's going to go into the mix. And then all this is going to go back into that same container. If you want to wash between, like if you're making multiple flavors, you're going to do like we'll get into this in another video. Like if you're going to make like a strawberry or a mango ice cream, that kind of vibe, you might want to wash out your container between, you know, flavors or whatever. But for me, I like that little bit of extra vanilla in there, so I'm just going to leave it in there from the Vanilla Bean Kings. So here we go. This is going to go into our party. All this goes in. Make sure you get most of it. I don't even have any schmutz. Okay, and then same thing. Our lid's going to go back on. And then this is going to go onto here. And again, in about another 30 seconds or so, 30, 40 seconds to blend everything up. Just like watching paint dry. Okay, so same thing. We've got a lot of volume in here. Give it like a few seconds for the volume to kind of reduce back down to where it should be, which is now about like right here. So it's already come down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And just to keep things a little more cleanly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe my container. Or you could just do this. If you have measuring cups and you want to measure out a cup of milk, you could just measure everything in your blender, right? There's no need to like measure it in here. The reason why I did this one time to measure in here was to show you all that whatever ingredients I put into here are the same ingredients that are going back in, and your container size is basically going to determine how much you make, right? So that way you're not making too much or too little or whatever. So anyways, here's my wiped out container. I'm going to go ahead and pour my chocolate flavor mix in here now. And there we go. And as you can see, oh, almost to the edge. Okay, so we had like a little bit left over, but no big deal. So same thing. Lid's going to go on. This is going to go into the freezer for between 4 to 6 hours. There's no need to stir it or shake it or blend it or do whatever. Just let it do its thing. Here's your side-by-side comparison if you want to check out the 2 flavors. So I have vanilla on the left and chocolate on the right. If you want it more intensely chocolate, add more of the cocoa mix, right? Just add a little more. Just throw a little more in there. Add some more Flavamix. You get more cocoa in there. You get more chocolatey flavor. If you want more vanilla, like you make it the first time, we're doing small batches, right? That's the key, is just do a little at a time so you can kind of experiment on your own of what flavors work best for you, how much, how little you want to subtract. Was it sweet enough? Maybe, you know, you don't have to alter the allulose amount. If it wasn't sweet enough, add a little more, add a teaspoon more at a time until you get the perfect combo. Then if you want to make a huge, large batch of this, knock yourself out. As big as your container is as big as the ice cream's going to be. The reason why I like these types of containers, right, these disposable containers like this, is because as this freezes, it may expand a little more. And if you happen to crack, you know, the container or whatever, no big deal. It's a throwaway container anyway. Who cares? That's the whole point. Anyways, with that being said, all of these products will be down in the description. They're down there below, so make sure to check it out. I'll put links to everything. I'll also put a link to the smoothie maker or blender or whatever you decide to use. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you like what you're seeing. I'm the Old Coot, and I will catch you all on the next video where we are going to be spooning this after it's frozen. So I'll be back in about 6 to 8 hours or so with that video.